It was just another ordinary afternoon in Brooksville, a peaceful suburban town where everything seemed to follow the same familiar rhythm day after day. Life there was quiet and predictable, the kind of place where neighbors exchanged polite nods but rarely stepped beyond the boundaries of casual small talk. Yet, on that sunny afternoon, something was about to happen that would forever change the way Brooksville saw itself and each other. Sophie Bennett, a bright-eyed 7-year-old with golden curls and a love for adventure, stood on the front porch of her home, dressed in her favorite yellow sundress. Her hands gripped the porch railing as she watched a familiar figure moving steadily along their street. It was Mr. Thomas, the neighborhood sanitation worker, collecting the trash as he did every Tuesday afternoon. His neon safety vest gleamed in the sunlight, and he worked with practiced efficiency, lifting bins with ease and gently placing them back in their places. Despite his quiet presence in the neighborhood for years, few people had ever paid him more than a passing glance. But Sophie had always noticed him. With a sudden burst of energy, Sophie turned to her mother, tugging at the sleeve of her blouse with urgent excitement. Her bright blue eyes were wide with wonder. "Mommy," she asked, her voice soft yet insistent, "can I invite Mr. Thomas to my birthday party tomorrow?" Her mother, Caroline Bennett, blinked in surprise. She followed her daughter's gaze to the man across the street, momentarily unsure how to respond. Mr. Thomas had worked their block for as long as she could remember. He was polite, always offering a wave or a friendly smile, but they had never spoken beyond brief exchanges of pleasantries. To Caroline, and likely most of Brooksville, he was simply part of the background, a quiet, constant presence in their lives. A worker, a figure people barely noticed. But Sophie's insistence was unwavering. Her little hand tugged again. "Please, Mommy," she whispered, a hopeful lilt in her voice. "I think he might be lonely." Caroline hesitated, glancing back at Mr. Thomas, who was now lifting a heavy trash bin into the back of his truck. There was something about the way he moved, tired, maybe, or just resigned, that made her pause. With a quiet sigh and a small smile, she nodded. "All right, sweetheart. You can invite him." Without missing a beat, Sophie bolted down the front steps, her sandals slapping against the concrete as she ran toward him. She stopped a few feet away, beaming up at the man. "Mr. Thomas," she called. He turned, a bit startled at first, but his expression softened as he recognized her. "Well, hello there, Miss Sophie," he said, his voice deep and warm, with a kindness that seemed to carry a hint of sadness. Sophie took a deep breath, mustering her courage. "I'm having a birthday party tomorrow," she said. "Would you like to come?" For a moment, he just stared at her, as if he hadn't heard her right. His brown eyes, usually dulled by long days and hard work, suddenly sparkled with surprise. Then, slowly, he chuckled, a deep, rich sound that made Sophie giggle. "Well now," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "I can't remember the last time someone invited me to a birthday party." "Then you have to come," Sophie insisted, her hands clapping together in delight. Mr. Thomas smiled, tipping his cap in agreement. "All right, sweetheart," he said. "I'll be there." The next day, Sophie's backyard was a swirl of color and laughter. Balloons bobbed in the breeze, tables were covered in cheerful cloths and loaded with snacks, and children ran in circles, playing games and giggling. Parents stood in small clusters, sipping lemonade and chatting about school events and weekend plans. But Sophie's attention was elsewhere. She stood by the garden gate, her little hands gripping the white picket fence, eyes scanning the quiet street beyond. "Do you think he'll come, Mommy?" she asked, her voice small but hopeful. Caroline crouched beside her daughter, brushing a loose curl from her forehead. "I hope so, sweetheart," she said gently. "But sometimes people have to work." Sophie nodded solemnly, but her gaze never wavered. Then, just as the sun dipped a little lower in the sky, casting golden light over the lawn, something unexpected happened. The quiet hum of the party softened as a sleek, black car rolled to a gentle stop in front of their house. The door opened, and out stepped Mr. Thomas. But he wasn't wearing his uniform or his safety vest. He was dressed in a finely tailored navy blue suit, his shoes polished to a gleam. He looked almost like a different person entirely. Gasps rippled through the guests as two more men climbed out of the car, carrying large, beautifully wrapped gift boxes. They followed Mr. Thomas through the gate and into the yard, setting the gifts down in front of Sophie with great care. "Happy birthday, Miss Sophie, Mr. Thomas said with a warm smile. For a few seconds, there was only stunned silence. Whispers quickly followed. Who is he? Why is he dressed like that? Where did that car come from? It was Sophie's father, Daniel Bennett, who finally found his voice. He stepped forward, his curiosity overcoming his confusion. "Mr. Thomas," he said slowly, I have to ask, what's all this?" "Mr. Thomas chuckled softly, rubbing his hand over his neatly trimmed beard. "Guess there's no hiding it anymore," he said with a grin. He turned to face the small crowd that had gathered, all eyes fixed on him. "You all have known me for years as your garbage man," he began, "and I've been happy with that. I've loved the simple life, the honest work. But what most of you don't know is that before I took this job, I was the CEO of a successful technology company." Murmurs broke out among the guests, eyes widening in shock. "I stepped away from that life," Mr. Thomas continued, "because I wanted to do something different, something real. I wanted to see the people I helped face to face. I wanted to be part of a community, not hidden away in a corner office." "And Sophie?" He smiled down at the little girl, now hugging his leg. "Sophie is the first person in years who saw me as more than just the man who takes away the trash. She saw me as a person, as a friend." The crowd fell silent, his words settling over them like a warm blanket. Caroline's eyes filled with tears as she knelt beside her daughter. "You taught us something today, sweetheart," she whispered, kissing Sophie's cheek. Sophie grinned, holding tightly to Mr. Thomas's hand. "I'm just glad you came," she said simply. From that day forward, something changed in Brooksville. The neighbors, once polite but distant, now made an effort to greet Mr. Thomas warmly each time they saw him. Some invited him to their barbecues. Others waved at him from their porches. He was no longer just the garbage man. He was a friend, a reminder of the power of kindness and connection. And as Sophie danced beneath the string lights in her backyard, surrounded by friends, family, and the man she had unknowingly transformed, she had no idea how much her simple invitation had rewritten the story of their entire neighborhood.